Hi, everybody. My name's Stephen Harvey, and I was your juror, as they say. Uh, how shall we introduce this? I find this to be one of the most onerous tasks in the world to jury shows. I did it once, like 2 years ago, and the last time I did it, I did something quirky, which is I said to them, how many people can I, because I put many, many people into it, more than they expected. But then I designed the install, which was, up and down the walls and everywhere. Because, I mean, honestly, I'm against a pay-to-play situation for art. I don't believe in paying admissions to submit for shows. It was the painter Ad Reinhardt said, never pay to be an exhibition. And I still believe in it, but I also believe in being of service to artists. And so when asked to judge shows, I always say yes, and it causes me no end of anguish to do it. Basically, my criteria for making an exhibition is to look for work that in some way excels and is somehow perhaps original in a sense, though originality is not what it's cracked up to be, I think. But being accurate to self, considering you don't really know the people, is really interesting. Another interesting aspect of it. In this show, Caitlin, how many entries were there?
There were around 200 this year, which is less than usual, but given the circumstances of the pandemic, we did pretty well.
Right, I thought so too. And how many we had, like what, 35, 40 people or something like that?
You chose around 30.
Okay, so around 30. So 10% basically. I mean, like, or 12% or something like that. It was an interesting thing to do. And I mean, I'd rather look at the work. Can we show the work? Is that possible to show the
Tony would have to try to figure out screen share.
Yeah, I think it's important because I mean, for me to talk about it without seeing it is sort of irrelevant, I think.
Yeah, I can do.
I'll provide the link to our virtual exhibition, and maybe Tony can bring it up on screen share while we talk.
That's
yes. Yeah, I'll take care of that.
Who's Tony? He's not there. Anyway, so I think it's going to be easier to talk about it if we can look at it. So that would be great. Well, let me ask you, Caitlin, how did the install go? How does it look?
I got quite a few compliments on hanging the show. I think it all came together very cohesively, lining up, the different colors that kind of moved around the room. And I think it's beautiful. I think all of it came together very well.
Okay. Okay, so good. Here we have some images that were in the show.
Yeah, so this is our virtual exhibition. So this is the one for those who couldn't make it in person. Okay,
so if I go down, if I click on that thing, can I click it, or does somebody else has to?
Tony has to do it.
Anthony, yeah. Well, no, wait, let's go back for a second. Hold on. Tony, can you go backwards to the first page? Because I think this is some of the paintings that were so-called prize winners, which, of course, is completely arbitrary anyway. But I remember being like, and it's interesting because two of them are actually photographs. And, in my gallery, I almost always show paintings. That's what I mean. I barely show photography. But in this case, two of the so-called winning pictures were photography. This iceberg in gold, which I thought was just a phenomenal image. And then the very resonant image of a demonstration, a recent demonstration in what looks like Philadelphia or something, but I can't tell where it was. And then the other side one is, I think, a pure painting, a pure painting. The small painting with the black around it, which I love for its sense of atmosphere and kind of concentration. The other one was a truly mysterious object. This person submitted 4 or 5 pictures. I could not tell personally, and I mean, I looked at everyone's websites, by the way, one thing is, you know, like to me, to try to judge things based on one thing is problematic. And so I wanted to look and see, like, hi, are you doing I mean, this is one of my criteria. Are you doing serious work? Do you have a body of serious work? Are you showing serious work? I mean, like, I tried to sort of dig into people's careers, as it were, a little bit. And so this person mystified me because I couldn't tell if they were painting on a photograph, literally, like if it was paint added to a photograph, or if it was a like projected image. I mean, it really was kind of fascinating. But the image of pool furniture floating in a pool, I thought was rather poignant. So, okay, Tony, roll it. Okay. Okay, there's me. Let's go. Okay, so now we start getting into these look nice together. The people I picked in this show. Like this person, I think I picked 2 works by this person.
Correct.
Emily Campbell. That's the person who had some paintings too, and they were very peculiar, which is one of my, you know, is a good criteria, like things that are extremely peculiar if you carry them off, you know, like it's the ceramic with, you know, startled faces. And then this other person, Jim Harrison, I mean, it was such a harmonious, again, quixotic picture. What's going on? It looks like people could be playing golf or athletics or something. I mean, I had no idea whatsoever, but the harmony was successfully pulled off. Can you go ahead, Jim? Yes, another quirky image, Have Fun by Charles Schickel. Now, Charles also was very quirky. And I mean, there's a lot to be said for quirk in a situation like this, because I mean, to be wacky and original simultaneously is kind of interesting to me. So this was a painting that looks like it could be made of like, out of decals or something. And yet it was also kind of like an abstract painting. So I thought that was rather interesting. Go ahead, please, forward. Ah, yes. So this is the second painting by Emily Campbell, the woman who did the ceramic. And I thought this was a truly mysterious image. I think I gave it some kind of honorable mention or
Third place.
Third place, yeah. Because what the hell is going on here? You know, you got like a guy who appears to be in drag, a woman who has no clothes on. It's like a moment of personal revelation between a couple who have like discovered something about each other. I mean, and you know, and it's painted in this crazy sort of graphic style. I thought, you know, it was so peculiar as to be, you know, kind of really affecting. And across from it is something by Tristan Demet, who, it's kind of the opposite in a weird way. It's a completely, I think, a really well put together painting of a chair, you know, and with a beautiful painterly touch. Forward, please. Oh, Emily Campbell's right there. I see Emily Campbell. Emily, you made that painting. Can you tell us about that painting? What the heck is going on there? What was in your mind?
Sure. So for this piece and then for the ceramic vase, I made around the same time. And, you know, I guess I was exploring ways in which landscapes affect people's interactions. So, you know, oftentimes in my paintings or in my 3D work, I depict people that are in these precarious or remote landscapes. And, you know, I kind of like playing around with an ambiguity to, you know, the gender of the figures or their emotions. And so the viewer is kind of stuck with thinking about how could the landscape tell us, you know, what the interactions or the emotions are of the figures. But you know, also I really like working in this highly controlled style and then depicting, like in the vase in particular, emotions that are really dramatic or kind of uncontrollable. So that tension is interesting to me.
Thanks, Emily. Well, it definitely feels like an episode involving drag in the wilderness, which is, pretty out of control as far as I'm concerned. Really interesting. Hey, can we go forward, Anthony? Oh yeah, two more interesting paintings. So this person, Jane Bork and David Miller, both had, I think they had multiple entries, and I love the way they look next to each other, honestly. The redheaded kid and that sort of organic, abstract landscape, I think looks so neat. I mean, this is what I'm looking for in paintings. Paintings that are made are extraordinary in the way they're made. There's a lot of people who paint realistic paintings, but this woman, she got that little kid. What? Did somebody say something? Sorry. This woman, she was able to kind of cohere it all in this odd and original way, as was Mr. Miller, who, barely held on to the idea of a landscape here. Because I think, if I recall correctly, he had other paintings that were completely abstract. And you really feel the material quality of the world there. Can we advance, please? Yes. A 2-page spread for Heidi Bruckner. This picture I thought was a standout for Ms. Bruckner in the sense that it was it's called Portrait of an Aging Parent. It doesn't say if it's her parent, but I think it obviously must be. And it has, again, the eccentricity, and it looks, of course, like it was done from a photograph, but she did that thing, which is, if you work from photography, as Francis Bacon once said, you have to transform the photograph into something completely different and new. And I think she does that by her use of odd, jarring color and the sweetness of the figure, and really the combination of elements. Forward, please. Oh yeah, I love these juxtapositions in your catalog. You're gonna have to send me this PDF because I really like it.
Okay, great.
Thank you. This one was my last minute discovery here. The Yulia Yazinska. Now, first of all, it sounds like she's from an eastern province of all things, she's got to be from Kyrgyzstan or something. And I remember looking at her poring over her website and just being somewhat fascinated by the fact that she was doing these crazy kind of quasi-Japanese animation stuff.
Yulia says she's from the Ukraine.
Yes, so she's Ukrainian, very good. And there's a great tradition of eccentric decorative painting in the Ukraine, of course. So in a sense, she may be somehow related to that. The other person, Michael Burmeister, I thought did a fine job of doing something that's very hard, which is dividing into quarters a painting and making it hold. Because, when you divide something, you center it and divide it in quarters, it's like you're kind of neutral. You're not saying one space is more important than the other space, really. So it's a challenging proposition, I think, and this fellow did it, I thought, with real painterly panache. Forward, please. Oh, yeah, this is good, too. So John Sauers and Angela Scully. Now, I was quite smitten with John Sauers' painting because it's so darn eccentric, the idea of the naked person with a big pink hat on, looking off into the clouds. I just thought, and there's a pear and something else there. I can't quite tell what it is. It's what takes a naturalistic image.
Oh, yeah.
Landscape image.
I want to zoom.
And makes it into something else, something odd or something, more.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah.
I'm meeting Judy at 2, so I'll be back.
I have to turn your audio down.
Thanks, bye.
Okay, there we go.
Pardon me, everyone. This is Anthony. If you are on the Zoom call, please go ahead and mute your volume unless you are speaking about your piece or are the juror. Thank you.
Okay, so the peony abstraction. Now, I don't see the abstraction, but I definitely see the peony. And but as someone once said to me, all art is abstract. So I just thought this was a nice painterly exercise. I mean, everything seems right, seems pretty right in it, and it's, you know, venturesome, I think. Anthony, can we go forward? Ah, yes. Melanie Landreth. Let me see if I got it right in the whole. Landra or Landreth? Is there a TH in there? I can't see. Melanie had a real, there's something I like, which is like I'd call the painterly quality in paintings. Paintings that have authority are loose and yet assured. I think she evidences that here. The light on the house, you know, the great Provincetown painter Charles Hawthorne wrote a book called, I think it's called On Painting. It's a little book, you get Dover book, and it's a how-to book, and it's great. It's about looking at painting spot by spot color. And he used to say, if you can get one spot that has something of the light that people see in life, they'll forgive you everything else. And I think with that yellow house over there, Melanie got that. Okay, Anthony, let's go forward. Ah, yes, there's the quirky chair in the pool painting. Is that artist here Carolyn Davio by any chance? I bet she isn't. No. Too bad. We could get the mystery of whether these are done with painted on photographs. I think they must be, but
yeah. So she did come to our opening from Syracuse, New York, and I did check out her Instagram and talk to her a little bit. She has photograph reference, but it is a painting, and the only other element she uses is she collages book pages into the painting.
I read all that, but I couldn't really, I didn't buy it. It was interesting. I was like, to me, they really look like there's some element of photography in the making of the image, you know? Yeah.
So she, on her Instagram, she has little videos that she does next to her paintings where it shows her process. It's really cool.
Okay. Oh, good. I looked at her Instagram. I did not see that. It's interesting. So, okay. So the next person, Charles Martin, you know, I just thought he was a quirky abstract painter, and I felt like he had a certain sort of purchase in his touch, you know, like the way he got the paint to bump up against each other. So I like that. Anthony, let's go forward, if we may. Okay. Oh, yes, this was like a honorable mention, yes. You know, I just thought, in a sense, what was nice about this image was that it condensed our moment very effectively. You know, we have this insane COVID moment, and we have the simultaneous political upheaval being the response to police violence. And, you know, I thought it was interesting. It's just a picture of a demonstration, but somehow it seems to capsulize it very successfully. So I thought that Paulus Doe deserved mention. Anthony, can we go forward? Ah, yes. This was second place. This was Lisa Bartolozzi, who made paintings that are very much in a language that I relate to. There have always been dark, moody landscape painters since Ralph Albert Blakelock and Ryder, and, you know, I mean, so that, you know, it starts a long time ago. But yet this person is carrying that into a modern moment, and I thought just did it very effectively. Again, you know, there's an interesting element of, like, there's almost like photography in the painting, but I don't think there is, and I thought that was kind of fascinating. Forward, please. Ah, yes. The first place to Thomas Picarisky. Let's see if I got that right.
Picarski.
Ah, there you are, Thomas. Hi.
Yes, hi.
So tell us about this image, would you, Thomas?
So I've been going to Arctic regions for the last 12 summers and doing photography work. every summer I go to the Disco Bay area of Greenland, and I spend about a week there. And every evening I go out with a group in a boat right as the sun is going down and photograph for about 2 hours. I love what is called the blue hour, which is right after the sun goes down and the icebergs get an eerie look and feel to them. Sometimes there's fog, deep blue, deep green, some violet colors. This one, it's a little bit unusual for me because a funny thing happens when I'm out there. I'm usually photographing alone because I like such unusual looks. And what most people are photographing are things like the sunset, the whales, the sun itself. I wait for all that to slip away, and I wait until people are having cocktails in the lounge on the boat, and then I go out and photograph alone. So this was one of those rare moments where the iceberg caught a cathedral-like look to the light, and turned out very well. It ended up being the inspiration for the title of the series. The series is called Ice Cathedrals.
Nice, Thomas. Hey, Thomas, am I crazy, or do you also make plastic art too? Do you make paintings or sculpture or something too?
I paint, I write, and recently I just had a film come out based on the pandemic, which is a narrative spoken word piece that I wrote.
Thank you. So yeah, so Thomas is an artist of multiple media, and I was just, stopped in my tracks to a certain extent by this image of the Great Gold Glacier. Thank you. Can you go forward, please, Anthony? Ah, yes. 2 abstract paintings that grabbed me. The only thing I'm going to say about this one, Josephine Viviani, are you here? No. I don't like the signature. That's the only thing I don't like in that painting.
I'm here, and I take your comment. Thank you. It's Viviani.
Viviani, sorry, Josephine. The only thing I'm wrong with is the signature. I don't think it needs that. But otherwise, I think it's a really good picture. And I also think that Johnny Hayden's picture is an interesting abstract painting because it relates to sort of the roots of abstract paintings in sort of mystical language. You know, there was this big show of Hilma af Klint this year at the Guggenheim, and every abstract artist practically I know went there and went crazy about it. But there's a kind of, it's interesting because there's a sort of tradition that's as much mystical as it is pictorial in 20th century abstraction. And I believe that Johnny Hayden's painting somehow relates to that. Can we go forward, Anthony? Oh yeah, this is a crazy object. This is by Jenny, I'm so sorry, my eyes are so bad, Satterthwaite, so I think it is Satterthwaite. You know, I love textiles. And I mean, this is something that for me could be on the edge of, I mean, stumbles into kitsch, I don't know, but it's also so over the top and so fantastic in the sense of she's painting what I assume is, I mean, she's painting, she's embroidering or quilting what I assume is a kind of a pony, you know, of some kind, but with really extravagantly long hair. And I mean, it's just a fantastic object. You have no bloody idea what it is. You know, I mean, look at that thing. You know, is this quilting? Is it, you know, quilting mounted on a surface? I mean, I think that counts for a lot in both competitive art showing and life in general. So I thought it was quite striking. Next, please. Ah, yes, another really unusual painting was Denise Ernst's painting, which if you look at it closely is made up of some just crazy surface stuff, you know, like, I mean, look at the way she made this figure outdoors, but you know, there's like a broom in there or something. I mean, making up the hair. It's really a wild painting. And somehow I think it pulls it off, even though it's on the edge of like crashing on the rocks, but it pulls it off. And then over here, Catherine Renzi, you know, does something completely different. It's like so sort of smooth and elegant. And you know what? The funny thing here is it breaks a like cardinal rule of painting in that it doesn't really, like you see how that door in the window or door, whatever it is, you're seeing it through two huts in the distance, but it comes forward, shoots forward, looks like it's in front of the rest of the picture practically. And yet, you know, it's a hypnotic image, which means, says that if you break the rules and you do it right, you can pull it off. Next, please. Okay, oh, that's the detail. This is the girl. Yes, this is showing you the one we just saw, the girl under the moon, with silver, bronze, copper, metallic. Ah, yes. Two more images. Yeah, that's okay. We saw that one, right? But it is good to see it up close because you can't tell. So two interesting people. Thomas Picarski. That's you, Thomas. We got two of yours. Yes, we got one of these. You know, one of these other things by you. You had a series of photographs that seemed to be constructions that you photographed. Is that true?
Yes. So this one looks like a construction in that, I mean, it might look like people use the word Photoshop, that the characters were Photoshopped into there, but it's an actual photograph in that.
Right. I figured it was an actual photograph, but I mean, you
right.
made the objects, or you.
Right. I didn't actually make the objects. I found them, and then right. It's part of a larger series. There are two characters, and it's a character study. And so the objects were placed in there on top of the fire hydrant.
Right. But you know, it's interesting because the effect it gives in looking at it is like a still from some oddball new sci-fi movie or something, you know, like some Japanese anime or whatever. So I thought that was really kind of ingenious to have like the sense of it being a still. And then the Lone Ranger over here on the left is by Robert Hunter, who had a bunch of different stuff. And for some reason, I picked this one out of his work. And again, I think it's because he harnessed the oddness of it into a very kind of cohesive fashion. So I thought that was rather good. Anthony, next, please. Ah, yes, Abigail Lynn's. So Abigail Lynn's had this wonderfully moody painting. Is it an orchard? I don't know. It could be an orchard. It could be, you know, just some trees. But, you know, we have a sense, don't we, of being there, of what it's like at the end of the day, right? You know, it's really kind of feels right to me. Next, please. Oh yeah, this is Abigail again over here with the dark figure. I think that was a really quirky painting. The just because the head, you know, she's blacked out the face so much, and she's off-centered the actual paintings. I mean, I guess it's through a window maybe or something, but really it feels like it's just a construct. And then to her left we have Stacey Caldwell, who was a, you know, kind of completely forthright landscape painter, but you know, when it kind of came together, like in this pathway that feels like it could be going to Monticello or something, it's so orderly. I thought it was kind of really successful. Next, please. Ah, yes, The Nook by Brittany Gilbert. Now, this I just thought was really interesting. I mean, it's like it's like using painting as a sort of filmmaking thing, like an old Stan Brakhage movie, but painted in a landscape. And I thought that was absolutely ingenious, really, you know. Next, please. Ah, yes, no, okay. Photograph on linen paper, David Miller. Now, this is just another one of these miraculous images that I tend to like a lot. I mean, who knows what David did to this, you know? I mean, was he like spraying air on the glass plate? I mean, I have no idea. Has he told you, Caitlin, what this is?
No, he didn't mention how he made this digital print when he dropped off.
Yeah, I think he submitted a couple of other things. Let's go forward, please, Anthony. Ah, yes, two really quirky drawing styles here. This is Mariana Cavallaro and Tracy Bauman. Now, I just, I love drawing. And this person completely grabbed my heart, this Mariana Cavallaro, because they were so, well, I'm going to use the word again, quirky. I looked her up and found out that she was a gay woman, maybe in Philadelphia, perhaps. I'm not completely sure about this. And she did a lot of art with imagery of women. And I thought it was just wonderfully inventive and free. Now, Tracy Bauman, I just thought, wow, great juxtaposition in a drawing. I mean, flowers, deer's head, really just sort of, they all sit there together in the most peculiar fashion. Next, please. That's it.
All of them.
Great. Well, now, how about we open it up and see if anyone has any questions?
Yep, sounds good.
Go back to, I want to see the, oh yeah, there we go.
There we
They're all
go.
there. Do any of you have anything you'd like to ask?
Or if you would like to talk about your work as well.
Oh, yeah. Not ask, or say.
I guess I can ask a question. So this would be Michael Burmeister, coming to you from rainy West Michigan. I think it's interesting that you said quirk quite a number of times, which is always interesting because it means that somebody has a tendency towards being idiosyncratic or maybe very personal versus slick. And I wonder if within the New York art scene, if it seems nice and refreshing to see people who are doing things that are quirky versus overly massaged and commercial, for lack of a better term.
Well, I hate to say it, but I think within the New York art scene, quirky is big.
Right now it is?
Yeah, sure it is. I mean,
Okay.
if you go and look, let's see. What do I want to go see? There's like 3 shows, at least, I mean, there's dozens of shows I should like to go see, but of course I'll never be able to remember the names properly. But I saw, for instance, like images of a show in Chelsea at a big gallery by a young painter from Georgia. And, halfway in between abstraction and representation, I mean, they were quirky. And, this is what people are interested in now. They want stuff that has knots in it, that has something of the weirdness of life. Because look how weird life is. My God, our lives are often inside. Our lives are surrounded by tumult and upheaval. And I mean, the smooth is not necessarily, I mean, I guess you could say people would want the smooth just as an escape, but that's not really art for performing at its apex, right? The escape hatch. It's more like showing you something that holds a mirror up in a way where the world seems extremely quirky. I mean, my God, it really does. But I love that idea. And so yes, I think it is. But that's one of the nice things about seeing work from, and a lot of this work came from Pennsylvania somewhere, but not just Pennsylvania. But seeing work in this context of this show, competition, whatever, is yes, you see genuine individual expressions, I think. And as such, that is always refreshing, I think.
Sorry, I'm just going to say one more thing. I often check in on your shows through watching the James Calm Report on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
So that's been kind of fun.
I know, he does such a marvelous service,
Does a great job.
Oh my God, that guy, I don't know if you all see him, but this guy goes around with a small video camera. And he's pretty encyclopedic in his knowledge. And he will walk into your gallery and do a quick round of all the paintings and talk about the artist, and he knows about the artist. And it's phenomenal, and he is a painter of some interest. And I find him marvelous. You know, like, I mean, we have a kind of conversation about stuff, and I find him to be a great, great reporter. I think it's interesting. One of my big enthusiasms is for what I call alternative media, because you know, it's, as a small gallery with a very, very, very non-existent art advertising budget, I'm kind of contingent on people writing about the gallery. That's the way I can get press. That's the way I can tell you that there's a show at my gallery, because otherwise you're only going to know if you're on my mailing list or whatever, or read my Instagram or something. But so I believe in this like hybrid media stuff, like James, like there were these other two guys who were doing interviews with artists that I loved for a while, and they're not doing them so much now. But and then you know, like Hyperallergic, which is it's an online journal that is, you know, it describes itself as kind of a democratic journal. In other words, they don't write like highfalutin art reviews that show the author's, you know, erudition. You know, like art, they're not artisans really necessarily writing it, but they do write about art as kind of news and information and politics, and it's so refreshing because it's actually a wildly readable art journal that's online every week. You know, with new stuff every week. So I'm a big believer in those. You know, the Calm and et al. You know, alternative media. Anyone else? Thoughts? How's it look over there? I'd love to hear from someone besides Caitlin, who I know is predisposed to like it. Tell me what you guys thought if you saw the show. I haven't seen it, so it's far away from me now.
I haven't seen the show. I'm Catherine Renzi. I'm one of the artists. I haven't been there, but I was interested to find out if you, I guess you haven't been there either, and
No.
how you judge the show or this show and others, you know, with just digital images. And is there a translation or a juxtaposition, or in your experience, how do you connect to those images when you've never seen them in 3D?
Great question. I mean, for one thing, I always find in my own life that, as an example, whenever I try to price art that I'm going to show in my gallery off of digital images, it backfires on me without looking at it. Because first of all, scale, size as opposed to scale, is completely illusory in digital imagery. So, and also just presence is illusory in digital imagery. So, that being said, I mean, you know, the only way to do it here, since that's all I've got, is to pour over the images over and over again, and then try to look at the people individually to go catapult into their other stuff, their websites and that kind of thing, to get some sort of sense of them in the world beyond one little toy image that I'm looking at, and hope that that works. Yes,
I saw the show, and my name is Denise Ernst, by the way, not Ernst. I think it's really was valuable to see the show in person, because so much is lost in just a digital photograph. And I know, especially for my work, which is very textury, three-dimensional work, that to take a photograph of it I can't get a photograph that will give it justice. So you have to really see things like that in person. So I just encourage everyone to look at a lot of art in person if they can. It makes a difference.
Which one, remind me, which work was yours? Because I know we had your name in there. I just can't remember which one it was.
Pinned Up Girl Under the Moon. Pinned Up Girl Under the Moon.
The collage elements of wire and all that. The one under the moon. Actually,
there was no wire. That's all paint. The only extra added was some scarves that I used in the hair and the body, which helped make kind of an aperture for the paint itself, so that everything kind of looks thick and textury.
As to your other point, one thing I noticed is, you know, so we closed the gallery in March, the beginning of March. and we're closed for several months. And then in July, I sort of canceled everything we were going to do all summer. We just said, like, that's over. We're not going to do anything. And we waited to figure out what to do. And then in July, I began to install a group show that I thought would just be up for the summer, you know, through the end of the summer or whatever. And it was interesting because we sold a couple of objects, and then so we were able to make some changes in the show as it went on. And then, like 2 weeks into August, we got a review. There was an article in the Times about several shows downtown, including ours. And it brought a lot of people into the gallery. And the thing I noticed is people were just dying. They were hungry for actual paintings, right? Like they'd been like obviously holed up looking at all kind of crap on the internet. And they were really anxious to see real paintings. And it was so much fun because, you know, they'd come in and like, we're really happy to see you. That's great, you know? And so it's kind of gratifying to know how visceral the need for painting people have this. Anybody else? Oh, Heidi, didn't you want to have something? You have your hand
Oh yeah, I just kind of piggybacking on what you said before in terms of not getting a sense of the scale or the size. I mean, is that something that you then purposefully sought out, is to see how big the piece was, or, you know, try to get an image in your mind's eye once?
Dimensions, you know, so there's dimensions, so one can know that. I'm just saying that when in my own life, like I almost always know the dimensions, but the effect of the thing, I can't really see until I get it in front of me. And I just have to remember that all the time, because every time I try to price things without having recourse to the object itself, I feel that it's not right. So that's all. Well, anybody else?
I'm like the talking person. I put this in the comments, but are you finding that you're not seeing a lot of sculpture within Juried? And this could also be for Caitlin too, Juried shows, or, yeah, I'm just wondering about that. Because I don't remember if it was, no, it wasn't specifically a painting or a 2D show. There was that one ceramic piece.
They probably
minimal on the sculpture.
What's your name? Because it just says Funny Girl.
Yeah, that's my daughter. She's the one that's doing the Zoom thing. She's 9. You know, what are you going to do?
Good, yeah.
So it's Michael Burmeister.
Michael. So they came to me only because I'm only interested in painting. You know, I'm with like Ad Reinhardt, who said that if you sculpture, he said no tag this to Louise Nevelston is, you know, sculpture is something you back up into when you're backing up to look at a painting. You know, so they don't come to me for sculpture, but there was, you know, there was some good sculpture in that was submitted. If I can pick it, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I would say we had a fair mix of everything.
Yeah.
Hi, I actually have a question. My name is Yulia. I'm one of the artists. You mentioned that one of the criteria that when you are selecting works is you see if the artist is actually serious about what they are doing. So what would you say is like other things that you also keep in mind when you're like selecting works or looking at art in general? Not specifically just for the shows, but just like in general.
Yeah, in general. Well, you know, I always think it's fluency. Like if somebody is fluent in what they do, which usually comes from doing it a lot. I mean, that's basically, you can always see when people are painting all the time, you know, that that's a big part of it, actually, fluency to me. Thinking in some way that is their own is something that I prize, you know, having an original, not necessarily that the work is original per se, because I think that is highly overrated, but the fact is, nonetheless, there's always something shockingly, not new, but there's something shockingly fresh about great painting. And so fluency, the other thing, just criteria for the this kind of show is I do look at people to see what they're doing in the world. Like this is not somebody sending me one painting they made, because that's not of great interest to me necessarily, but to see if they really are practicing seriously, that's for this kind of show, I think is important. Just all the things you might imagine, intensity and sort of an obsessive interest in what you're doing, balanced by a self-criticality, I do believe that art is ultimately a conversation that we have with the world and with ourselves and with art history. And the level of that conversation, the fluency of that conversation is what I think establishes work as being something of serious interest.
This is Lisa Bartolozzi. Just want to say I did get to see the show and hadn't looked at the work online first, and I'm glad I did get to see it in person. Each piece was just so unique and fun to explore one-to-one. So I do think that's so important versus a digital image. But I just wanted to add, with my work, I have used media in the painting. Sort of a new thing for me to do a landscape versus a figure. And I wasn't
Lisa, sorry, which one was yours again, please?
Oh, it was the landscape, the moody landscape, the train shadow type painting. The one that, yeah, thank you for the prize, actually.
Okay.
Nice prize. But I was taking a train back and forth to New York to teach, and I hadn't really had time to paint anything for about a long time, actually. And I would just put my phone against the blackness of the train window and find these amazing landscapes when I played around with the phone later, giving me something to do creatively. And so it was interesting using a new kind of media. I hadn't had an iPhone before, and seeing what along that sort of desolate pathway between cities, what you could find with beauty in it, and also comment on the, our electrified world with all of the industry and lines and railroad lines and everything that's backed up against a train. So
can I ask you, Lisa, how did you make the painting? Did you have a print of the photograph that you worked from, or did you project it, or what did you do?
I had a bunch of photos from playing around with how to put light back into them, but then it's usually trying to figure out my palette, what I wanted to do with the colors, and the sort of, because it's really important. It was important to me not to show a source. And a lot of times with representation, I find I have to gather all these different references for the way I can complete a painting, whether it's a figure or anything else. And then just building up a sense of like a vocabulary of telephone poles or buildings or this new language that I kind of discovered in a new way to look at things, which I wouldn't have seen except for a phone, basically giving me that sense of.
One question: did you just paint freehand from looking at pictures of your out the window?
Yes, yeah. I love to paint, and I love like the history of painting. So layering a painting, keeping it kind of simple, but creating colors upon colors, glazing. As much texture, even on a small little piece, because it's only about that big.
Right. It looks like the size of a postcard. I gotta say also, Lisa, that what you said, I really identify with, which is the sticking my phone up to a window and photographing through it at night. I mean, I do this all the time. I use my phone to photograph all the time, and I think that it's incredible now. Like that's my hobby is iPhone photography, and I love that you're doing. I love that you also do it free, to paint from it free, because that means it doesn't. See, I think many pictures done from photography betray their origins. I guess I already gave that quote from Bacon, Francis Bacon, who said, you've got to take a photograph if you're going to use it and grind it up and have it come out as something else or whatever. And all I know is I can always look at a photograph, almost always, and say, that it was made from, if I can see that it was made from a photograph, I tend not to be as interested in it. And so I was surprised to hear that from you, that you took it. And I thought, I could totally relate to that moment of holding the photograph up to the window. Photograph, you don't even really know what you're going to get. And there it is, and something, oh, that's interesting, right? And that's why I think that photography is so easy, because you can almost always take a good photograph. Just hold your phone up into light and you get a good photograph. And but I do think for painting, it's such an extraordinary informant. Like there's so much seeing information in photography now with iPhones. So anyway, I love what you said, Billy. Thank you. Lisa.
Well, thank you. It was fun. And like I hadn't shown in so long, and it was just nice to be back in the show. So thanks.
All right. Shall we, where's my friend here? Caitlin, should we wrap it up? Are we good?
Yeah, if nobody has any other questions for Stephen, we can surely wrap it up now. Last call for questions. All right, sounds good. Okay, well then, oh, do we have someone?
Someone else?
Nope, okay. All right, well, the Oxford Arts Alliance would like to thank Stephen Harvey so much for jurying this show. It turned out wonderfully. Thank you so much for all the artists coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for joining on Zoom. Thank you for viewing in person. Thank you for viewing the virtual exhibition, sharing, and all that good stuff. We thank you so much.